Good morning, Cyber Warriors. Today, we're going to go over how to improve our batch file. The thing that we created in the previous video where we have it, and it only did a single function within there, and we need to make this a little bit more portable. We also need to make sure that we are not using environmental commands that may not exist on the system, because remember, we created it, but we didn't. It's those are not permanent. Those are within your single session. So I'm just going to show you how to fix that all within a batch file and make the improvements. So let's get to it. Alrighty then. So we have to expand on what we'd already done, which is creating a batch file, because once again, we've got some more download log files we need to take a look at. And this time we definitely are not going to do them one at a time. And this is a different day. So the variables that we created previously that we had in our batch file that we cheated with, it's not going to work. So I'll show you that in just a second here. So type fixer.bat, right? So this is the thing that we had before, and we're using this variable datevar. So I'm just going to check to see if datevar even exists anymore, because this is something we created the last time we were in here, and it doesn't. That is a response if there's no variable set. So we have to set the variable, but we want to do this in our batch file in a repeatable function and fashion that allows us to continue forward and use it repeatedly multiple times, because we're going to have this problem more than once. So I'm going to open up our batch file, and I'm opening it up in Notepad++. Now I'm doing it in Notepad++ because it colorizes things. I mean, we can look at it in Notepad, but let's be honest. We want to look at it like that. That looks just so much better, right? So there's a few things we're going to do to improve our batch file. The first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to do this command here, and this is standard practice, and it's add echo off, right? So this basically tells it to not simply repeat everything that it sees on the screen. So all of the commands are going to run silently, basically, in the background. So in order to ensure that there is something happening, we want to provide information to the user who's running it that it is actually running and not just stuck for some reason. Because if you run something and it takes a long time to process and there's no kind of output, it just seems like it's stuck. So we're just going to put in a quick little echo statement for echo working. This may take a moment. Simple statement, doesn't have to really mean anything is other than I just need to provide awareness to the user running it. Next thing we want to do is we want to go back and do our original rename, right? Because we're going to take a look at this real fast. dir/b. That's a lot of stuff. Let's actually show this in a different way. dir/w. See how it's formatted a little bit differently? Now we see that there are 40 files in here, one of which is Fixer. So we want to we'll ignore Fixer. But we've got all these different log files in here. We're going to do definitely too many to do manually one at a time. We have to reverse a file extension back to where it needs to be on the Windows system, where the file extension's on the rear. So we need to make sure that we're going back to do that. Now that code, we didn't capture that from the last time, and we're going to have to do it this time. So as we're looking at it, we see that these are two different tokens if we do a dir/b, right? So it's just the extension and the log name. So this is /f, and we need to do string a, because remember in a batch file it needs to have an extra one. We need to define our tokens. Tokens we're going to be doing are 1 and 2. And the delims are the period. And I don't have to have that one there. Okay. And this is, actually I did this a little bit wrong here. This portion belongs on this side. So you have to tell it the tokens and delimiters before you tell it what kind of variable to use. And I'm going to use a different variable this time around just because. And we're going to do a string m. Just to show you could do different parts in the alphabet. And it'll work just the same. And this is in a command that we are going to run, which is dir/b log star, and we're going to do rename, and you see that Notepad++ is making suggestions for us for commands that it knows works in this area. So this is helpful for some people. It's a distraction for other people. I find it more helpful than distracting, even though I'm familiar with what I'm trying to do. Okay, so we're going to flip those two columns, right? So this was A and B last time. This time we're starting with M. So what comes after M? String N, that is correct. And so now we need to reverse those. So that is string N dot string M. All right, so that captures the rename thing, but what if we still want to do this date variable part? Well, we need to define it because it's not defined. And what I like to do is create our variables at the beginning, right? So the long-term variables, things that we're going to use perhaps multiple times or use in a form or function or for loop later, I like to create those in the very, very beginning. So we're going to create a for loop up here, for/f tokens equal, and we're just going to do we're just going to do the actual date this time around. So let's refresh our memory of what that looks like. Echo date. All right, so we need to have 1, 2, 3 tokens where space and the / are the delimiters. So diving back in here, we have 2 through 4. Remember, 1 is the one that we don't want to have, which is Friday. We don't want to include Friday. So we're going to skip it. So we need 3, so that means 2, 3, and 4. All right. Delims equal the / and the space. Now there's a weird thing with using a space as the delimiter. If you use a space as in any other location other than right next to the end quote, it'll error. So if I did delims equal space / it will not work. It'll cause an error because it'll create an unexpected function. So if you're going to have a space, make your space the very last element in all of your delimiters you're going to be using. And this time we're going to use A in, and this was echo date. do set, remember we have to set their variable, datevar equal, and we're going to do year, month, day. So that would be string C, string A, string B. Okay. And we want to put that datevar underscore. There we go. So let's recap real fast, right? So we're going to create a date variable, and we're going to put that date variable at the beginning of our new file name where it has the file name and the extension at the rear. We're starting off with the file name with the extension at the front with no date information on there at all. And so this is just a simple way of identifying this is going to work. And actually, these are the functions we're going to do. So out of all of these lines, the only one that will show when we're running this batch file is that one. So how do we know that it is done? It's all complete. There's a way to do that. We can actually write an echo statement and it's all done. What I like to do, especially when I'm doing a batch rename, is I like to do the dir/w because that shows everything. It's all nice and neat. And it's actually echo a statement. All actions have been completed. There we go. Do a dir, and then I'm going to do a pause. This prevents it from actually just exiting the batch file completely until you do something else. And I'll show you how that works in just a second. All right. Here we go. We're saving it. And we can either run it directly from here because we have it's right there, or we can actually go into here and double click. And this is where that pause statement is going to be really important because file not found. What did it not find? Oh my gosh, I know why it didn't work. Because in our old command that we looked at before, these aren't starting with a log, they start with an R because it starts with either RAR or R is in a number, a two character number. So that is our error. And you see what the pause does here? It's really tiny on the screen. And really see if I can zoom that in a bit. Okay, so press any key to continue. That is that's what pause does, is it basically freezes it. Without it, it just would have ran and we would have looked at the log files and we would have seen, wait, there's no information. There's no file not found error that was there. So now we can do it again. Let's do it again. It says working. This may take a moment. All actions have been completed. Let's zoom in on this again so we can see it. And now we have all of our files with the proper format and name. And these are simple steps in order to improve your batch file and make it so that it is a little more friendly. And as for good practice, you should also include comments. So let's go ahead and add a couple of comments. So this is the way to do comments within batch files. Okay, basic process in there that we want. We need to define this next section. And that's the date variable, not the fate variable. Echo dot. Now what this does is it just creates a carriage return. So we see back here that working, this may, and then all actions completed, they're all like one line, next line. By adding this echo dot, it actually will create a space in between, or a carriage return in between. It's basically just putting an empty echo in there. And this next piece, let's do renaming the files of the date variable. And this last portion is reporting all actions. Okay. Now our comment is approved. Our batch file is approved. It's portable. I can now move those to any folder that has multiple RARs in the same format, and I can hand this off to somebody else, and they'll understand what's going on in it. Okay, Cyber Warriors, what did we do today? We took something we had that was kind of limited in scope. We've made some improvements to it, and we've made it portable, which is the important part. Going through and identifying problems with your code is something that you will do throughout your entire career. You will write something as great in the now, and then you will realize that, hey, I can make this portable and I can move this around to different systems. Let's go ahead and do that. Always make sure you comment in your code. Always strive to improve it. So keep doing all of that. Keep improving your code, and as per always, I hope you learned something. Happy hunting, and I'll see you in the next video.